missed you all last month because I threw my back out. And then I was live via video the month prior, even though that messed up. So I am happy to be here. I'm happy to be here live. Everything seems to be working correctly. I have a funny little story to tell you about my well, not so funny, but story to share about Heidi's square from last month. My dogs are barking at something, but my husband knows I'm live, so we're going to assume that he's got that covered. I have no idea what they're barking at. It's Sunday. There's nothing going on out there. All right, so I'm just going to make sure I can position to see comments. Thank you, Cheryl. Hey, everybody. So I've had some trouble lately with my audio, with my one mic. I was live yesterday and it was fine, but if something goes weird, let me know in the comments and I'll just swap out my microphones. For those of you who are joining for the first time, this is our Crafty Bunch Patchwork of Friendship events. There are actually 24 of us because we're split between two groups. But there are 12 of us on a Monday and 12 of us on a Sunday that have been creating for each other all year. And every month we create a quilt square for a different person in the group, and we receive one from somebody else in the group. So we go live, we open our square and share that, and then we start creating our square for the next person. We typically don't get those all done on the live because we only have 45 minutes, which is also a good reminder for me to set my 15-minute warning. And this is all the brainchild of our wonderful host, Cheryl Parrish with Mama P's Crafty Creations. And we appreciate her very much and all of the things that she does for us in not only this event, but running in the Crafty Bunch. And so we all talk about how much we love this event, and this is like one of our favorite things. And that's so very true. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to take off my front-facing camera because y'all don't really need to see that. I do need to look at something real quick because I forgot to write it down. Hey, Nicole, Pat, and Lisa. Hey, Miss Lisa. I meant to look and see who is after me today and write it down. And of course, I forgot to do that. So I'm going to pull up our schedule very quickly. So it's Bev after me. And I think that's not, I don't have business names. So stick around though, because we'll be in all day. All you have to do is refresh after each person. So Lisa Ahmad kicked us off. And hers was very cool. She does very cool stuff. And so that was super fun. Okay, I'm gonna get started though because I like to talk, and I'm just gonna ramble and we are not gonna get anywhere. So the first thing I'm gonna do is open my square. This is from Bev Hanson with Bev's Creating with Love and Whimsy. And if you were watching Lisa, she talked about how hard it is when we get our squares in the mail to not open them. And that is not a lie. It's really hard to not just immediately dive in. And also, I have to pay attention because there have been a couple of times that I have not looked at the tag and I just started to try to open a package thinking it might have been a whatnot purchase or something like that. Unfortunately, I've always caught it before I do that. But one of these days, I'm going to open it not meaning to. Whitney, I hope you like the blog. I had a ball making it for you. Love, Bev Hampton. Okay, so we're going to unfold this. The ones that are sewn together, oh my God, that is so cute, are always just so impressive to me because I don't sew like with a sewing machine, even though I have one, and I keep saying one of these months I'm going to do it. So maybe by December, I might actually make that true. And so, oh, that is Bev. Okay. Thank you, Trisha. I appreciate that. So Bev's coming after me. And I love this. Sorry, brain problem. So she's got my blue, one of my favorite colors, and yellow, and then I'm an ocean beach girl. So this fish is perfect. And we've got like little pieces of like a coastal part of the map I can see, and then some butterflies, which I love, and just this pattern. And I love the little smiley faces. Can you all see those little smiley face buttons or beads or sticky things? And then this cute little eye made out of a button. That actually gives me an idea for something. Oh, Bev, I love this. I'm not sure if you're watching, so I will send you a message when I'm done. But if you're watching, I absolutely love this. It's so cute. So cute. Lisa was talking about what it feels like to open something that someone has made for you. Handmade gifts are so cool. These are just particularly special because a lot of us didn't know each other at all before, this event started. And to get something from somebody that you don't really know, but that is so spot on your personality, your style, things you love, your colors, whatever, it just means a lot. So I love this. It's so cute. Okay. So I have a plastic tub that all of my pieces are going in until I kind of figure out what I want to do with them. I have an idea. I just need to find room in my house to do what I want. Okay, so this month I have the privilege of creating for Mary White with All Things with Mary. And so, everybody has done a info sheet. And so this kind of helps us think about how we want to create our squares. And so Mary is a June birthday. So we just had Mary's birthday. So happy belated birthday, Mary. And we'll have to make sure I incorporate a little bit of that in here. I saw that. Now that I see it again, I remember I saw that like last week when I looked at the sheet, but didn't come back to that when I was like pulling things together yesterday and today. I'm never quite as prepared going into these as I want to be. So again, maybe one of these days. So her favorite music artist is Blake Shelton. She's a country music fan, as am I. She lives in Oklahoma City. She likes spicy food. Sugar-free grape water is her favorite drink. That's interesting. Never really thought about that. And favorite movies, Pure Country and 50 First Dates. Love that movie so much. Favorite TV shows, Blue Bloods, MASH, and Murder, She Wrote. Holiday is Christmas, which is much like a lot of us. Favorite colors are black and white. So I'm going to incorporate some black and white into this today. I was excited about that. I like black and white. And her least favorite color was yellow. So I made myself a note to no yellow. Her favorite art medium is paint. So I'm trying to still figure out how to incorporate a little bit of that into this too. But I have a starting off point. So we're gonna do that. We're gonna start with we're gonna start at the very beginning. I feel like a Sound of Music thing coming here. So I was trying to decide, because normally I have my backer, which is I just use muslin, and then I put my fabric on top of that, and then I create. Today I was sort of thinking about doing that in reverse, because I always end up cutting it down too small, and I don't like messing with heat bond when I'm live. So I think I am going to just do it in the reverse today, and we're just going to start with the fabric square. So we're going to put the muslin aside, because it won't hurt anything with what I'll have to get it completely mounted down before I finish, but with what I'm starting off with today, it's not going to hurt anything for me to do it this way. So the first thing we're going to do, though, is I'm going to iron this out a little bit. get some of these wrinkles out so that when I measure and cut it down to size, all of these wrinkles are gone. So while I'm letting my mini press heat up, I'm going to show you all a little bit of what I'm going to use. So because Mary is a country music fan, my brain went to some of my country themed chalk couture transfers. And I had one that I wanted to use, forgetting that it was too big. And so I kind of had to go back to the drawing board. And then I remembered this one. So this is an older transfer. It's from 2024. It was actually, I think it was a club couture transfer, actually. So it's got this little cowboy boot and these pretty little flowers. And it looks really cool all together. And you can put this on top of this here if you don't want this sort of pattern in the cowboy boot, which we might actually do that because this won't really show on this fabric. And then we're going to use the flowers. And to kind of pull all the colors together, I went to my handy dandy color cube that I've been using lately, and I wanted to really focus on the blues, since gold and dark blue are some of Mary's favorite colors. So I've got black and white, and I'm going to use a little bit of gold. And so I've pulled out some colors that kind of go along with this here. So I've got Cadet and Home, and this is called Dear Diary, and my Academia, which is about as close to that turquoise as I get. If you flip the color cube over, it gives you like an array of colors. And then my Good Luck Charlie, which is the closest I can get to this last color down here. So we're going to pull those in for the florals. And then I've got, what did I do with my greens? Did I put all my greens back? I've got some green for the stems, although I might not use that because I think we've got a lot going on there. What I am going to do also is I'm going to do everything once in vanilla. Hey, Simone and hey, Carol and Debbie. I do. Lisa, I like that cowgirl boot. I think it's really cool. I'm going to do everything in vanilla first, and then we're going to dry that. Where's my drying tool? I don't know where my drying tool is. And then I'm going to go back over it with the different colors, because when you chalk with darker colors on a dark surface, the colors kind of tend to fade. So if you want your colors to pop out, so like if you're doing red on a black surface, for example, but you really want that vibrant red, what you can do is do your design first in white or vanilla or dune, and then go back over it with the red, and then you're going to get that vibrant red. So we're going to do that on this because I really want these blues to look the way they should. I want the true color to pop out. So we're going to get some of these wrinkles out, and then I'm going to trim this piece down a little bit just to make sure I'm kind of staying in the right size. I hope everybody is doing well today. I don't know where everybody's joining from, so throw that in the chat because that's always fun. As I said on my live yesterday, it is hotter than words I can't say on Facebook here in Central Illinois. Lovely, lovely, lovely heat advisory until Tuesday evening. Ugh. Messed up some of my plans for the weekend. I am making a fairy garden in my backyard. And so I bought this huge metal arch. And I was going to go out yesterday and start to paint it because I don't dislike the color, but there's a different color in my head. And so I gone and bought spray paint and the drop cloth and stuff earlier in the week. And I was sitting there getting ready to change clothes. And I was like, how humid is it out there right now? It's like 87% humidity. I'm like, I can't spray paint when it's that humid. That paint will never dry. So I didn't get that done. But it's supposed to be cooler next weekend. And it won't, it's still going to be more humid than ideal conditions for spray painting, but it'll be better than it is right now. So, all right. So this is, I suck at this. Excuse my French, but I really do. It's kind of comical, actually. Can't draw a straight line with the ruler. And I usually do this ahead of time so that I'm not struggling with it on the live. Actually, let's flip this over onto the, no, it's about the same. Okay. But time just got away from me today. I was watching Lisa. All of a sudden I was like, oh wait, I'm next. I should probably get it together here. All right. So I'm going to mark this in a couple of places. Doesn't help that my edges aren't even. But I always, no matter how much I mark the fabric, I always end up with it smaller than I want it to be. Sue, so I'm actually using chalk paste, chalk couture chalk paste on this. Normally, if you are working with textiles, you would want to use ink because that you want it to be machine washable. However, a lot of the ways we're doing these projects, they don't necessarily lend themselves to making a true quilt. And so I do not anticipate that this square is going to be washed. So I'm going to go ahead and use paste. But if you are making something that you want to be able to be machine washed, you would want to use the chalk couture inks. Sherry, Maryland, and it is extremely hot. Yes. Linda, I am making for Mary White with, I'm going to get it wrong. All Things with Mary. Okay. I was going to get it right. I needed to trust myself. So we're going to use my little pencil here, make my line. It's going to be crooked. I will figure that out later. Trim it up. I am giving myself a lot of space here. So I'm making this 13 by 13 for now. I'll be putting the design in the middle. I have some other little elements that I'll be adding to this when I finish up. And so those will kind of go in the sides and in the corners. And I will trim this down completely and go ahead and mount it to the muslin before I do those pieces, just to make sure I have plenty of room in case I decide to do anything 3D. I'm not worrying about, using the heat bond or anything like that. All right, so we're going to turn this way and do the same thing. What? Oh, I need this one. That's the other thing. I have to use two different, like, I use my measuring tape for this. Sometimes I use my mat here, but then I think that's not always the best idea because I'm using two different things to measure, and they don't actually like measure out the same. Figured that out the other day. Okay. And then I'm probably going to actually press this again because those wrinkles just are not staying out. I think it's just the fabric, but I'll do that. So I created last month for Heidi. You will not see her open that square live today because it has not made it to her yet. So, funny story. So I has started working on her square after our live event last month. Once my back was fine by the next day, but the day of the event, I was stuck in bed with heating pad and muscle relaxers. But and that was just dumb because doing something I know better than to do. So I was finishing up Heidi's square and working on a couple other projects because we were getting ready to leave for vacation. And I had her square laying on my desk. And I was cleaning everything up from that and all the other projects. I was like, okay, I'm going to get cleaned up. And then I'm going to package up the square and get the postage and get it to the post office. And I had one of those little 2-ounce bottles of the folk art chalk paint, with the screw top lids. And, those tops don't screw on the way like other acrylic paints do because you don't squeeze it out, pour it out. And I had Heidi's square laying right here, and I had a bottle of paint like right here, and I picked up the paint just by the lid, assuming the lid was screwed on to the jar of paint. And well, it absolutely was not. And so the jar of paint fell over all over the square. I mean, it was not salvageable. I was just like, okay, well, that's lovely. And you do that, right? Like you catch yourself picking up a bottle or a jar of something that you didn't have the lid screwed on all the way. And you're like, oh, I shouldn't do that. I know better than to do that. That's going to like bite me in the butt one of these days. Oh yeah, it sure did. Yep. So I didn't have time to get it done before we left for vacation, and we didn't get back from vacation until last Saturday. We came home to water in our basement from a leaking water softener. And so that's been sort of an ordeal throughout the week. So anyway, I got Heidi's square done. I kind of like the idea that came to me better because I got a different idea and didn't try to replicate what I had done originally. Not sure that the vision I had in my head is exactly what it turned out to look like. Thanks, Sue. I just, at this point I had to laugh, and I was angry at myself when I did it, but I think the fact that I had to just clean up the mess and move on because we were leaving at 4:00 the next morning didn't give me a whole lot of time to like really dwell on it. And then while we were on vacation, I got a whole like completely different idea. I was like, okay, that's kind of cool. But yeah, I was hoping it would get to her in time. I wasn't thinking about the fact that we had a holiday in the week. And so that sort of, if I had been thinking about it, I would have made it a point to get it done a day sooner so that I could have gotten it in the mail. But yeah, if nothing else, it's a good story at this point. Okay, so we are going to turn that off. I'm going to lay this out real quick and just kind of make sure it's positioned the way I want it. Luckily, I have 2 of these transfers, and so I can do this the way I want to do it without having to wash and dry it in between. All right, so this is going to need to come down just a little bit. And make sure. Yeah. Okay. And then when I get the boot on, then we'll do the flowers, and that'll give me plenty of room up at the top there. And so I'll have, if I want to trim it down a little more, I can do it that way. All right. So that's, we're about in the middle there. We're going to push this down, and then I'm going to use vanilla as opposed to a bright white, just so that if anything, if I don't get the transfer completely lined up and a little bit of that color comes through, it's not as bright. Make sure that it's pressed down really well. I am using my ink mat too to hold the fabric in place, and that'll keep some of this paste from bleeding through onto my cutting mat. Not that I care, but these ink mats are nice if you're making a t-shirt, especially, or if you're making a tote bag. I like to use, well, let me clarify. They are nice for t-shirts because you don't have shoot. Okay. I wasn't paying attention. All right, that's fine. I will figure out how to cover that. It's got these little marks to line up. I wasn't watching that. Anyway, t-shirts, because they're hard to get in and out of the t-shirt. But they're nice because they keep ink from bleeding through onto the back. Same with like tote bags. A lot of times, however, I'll just use cardboard. Where they're really nice, though, is if you're doing something like this, like a tea towel or something like that, that's really only one layer. You're not really so much concerned about something bleeding through onto the other side. But when you pull your transfer up, the ink mat keeps your fabric in place. So you don't pull that up too, and then it makes it harder to get the transfer off your fabric. I have no idea if any of that made any sense at all. It made sense in my head, but I got distracted by my little oopsie-daisy. So because this is a layering transfer, it's got little marks on it to show you where to line it up, and I wasn't thinking about that. And so I just chalked right over it. And so that's just our first layer. And the only reason that is there is so that when I go back over it with the other colors, the other colors are going to pop out just a little bit more. I am going to grab I thought I had my heat tool on my desk, but I don't. So I'm going to grab that real quick. There it is. I have a new sort of crafting stand kind of thing that needs to be put together. It's going to go behind me. It's going to be really nice because it's going to be a space for all of this stuff, my mini press, my heat tool, my glue gun, like all of that stuff to live. I'll still have to grab it and bring it over to the desk, but it'll live in an easier place for me to access. So I'm going to pull this up off the ink mat a little bit because I don't want to use my drying tool. With this still attached to that. This should not take much to dry. Now, one of the differences between using paste versus ink on textile, not sure if you all can see it, but my fabric has sort of started to tighten up a little bit. So I've got a little bit of a ripple here because the paste is drying and it's pulling that fabric together. Ink won't do that because it's designed to be used on textiles. Now, it's not going to hurt anything for this project, especially when I heat bond it down, like it will lay flat. But that is one of those, that is a difference. I was talking about paste versus ink when I was live yesterday, and you can ink on anything, but you can't paste on anything. You can't paste on anything that needs to be machine washed. And even if you make coasters or something like that, you can spray seal them so that they're water resistant and the water from like a glass or something isn't going to sit on it and ruin your paste, but you can't put them in the dishwasher. You still have to like hand wash those. So then we're going to lay this down. So, the goal is to make it look like the flowers are coming out of the boot and covering up the top of that a little bit. And actually, you know what? No, we're not going to do it that way yet. We're going to do it this way first. We are going to completely do the boot first, and then I'm going to go back and do the flowers. So I'm going to open this other transfer. I like it when I have two of the same transfer. I don't always buy that way. Not cost efficient, buy that way. I don't really sell the product directly. I don't do shows and stuff like that for product. But sometimes I'll buy multiples of something, and then I do have duplicates of some of the club transfers. Now, I will say messing up and doing this, getting these lineup marks on this fabric is going to help me a little bit. It's going to help me line this boot up. A little bit. So I'm just going to line this up here. It's not going to be perfect, and that's okay. Part of it, again, is because the transfer has pulled the fabric up a little bit. Move this part over some. If I didn't have two of these, I could just wash the transfer and dry it and lay it back down. Not a big deal. But when I'm live, it's nice to be able to just do this. And again, this is part of the reason I used the vanilla, so that in places where it's not lined up perfectly, it's not a real bright contrast in the colors. So we're going to open my new jar. So for the boot, because one of Mary's favorite colors is gold, we're going to use Nominee, which is a gold metallic. I love this color so much. Very pretty. It's not a shimmer, so it doesn't have any of the like glitter kind of flecks in it. It's got that metallic color. Great for holiday. It was a color of the month. I think it was like a November color of the month a couple of years ago, and everybody loved it so much and hollered for it so much when it went away that they brought it back. Okay, I have slightly less than 10 minutes. I'm going to go over this with the Nominee. And I'm going to try to avoid those little positioning marks. And I will figure out what to do to cover those up. I can make little stars or find some small florals, something like that. I can figure out a way to cover that. Just pay a little more attention this time. And doing this in double layers is not absolutely necessary. It would have looked just fine, but I just wanted these colors to really sort of stand out more than I thought they would if I just chalked right on top of this black and white fabric. What is everybody doing today? Hey, Nyla, how are you? Hey, Tarina, Joanne, Linda, Lisa. Hey, Carol. Tarina, I saw the wedding pictures. They were beautiful. Looked like you all had an absolutely lovely day. My friend Trina is watching, and one of her sons just got married. So she was a bit of a crazy woman last week. But it looked like it was all worth it. Just lovely, lovely photographs. Okay, so I think I got that done pretty well. Make sure I put the lids back on everything anymore. pull this up. So there we've got the boot down. I did get paper towel. Look. So, oops, out of the frame. So there's a little bit of vanilla visible there, but it really looks like it's just part of the boot. And especially this little intricate design here, I think stands out a little more because I layered those two colors. How am I doing on time? Okay. So I have just about a minute left. So I'm not going to actually do anything. I'm just going to talk through it. So this will get dried, and then I will position the flowers so it looks like they're coming out of the boot and then kind of covering the top. So I won't go all the way up like this. I'll put it kind of like that. So we'll end up covering, part of the boot there. I'll do this again in vanilla and then go back over it. And I might actually go back over that almost with a watercolor technique. So using a paintbrush so that I can get a whole variety of color in there. And then, I'll be using all of these blues. And then this, a little bit of this Dear Diary. So this is sort of the, hello, right off my desk. This is close to the color scheme that we're going to be using. There's another color in there that will kind of represent a shade of this blue right here. So that'll be part of this. And then there's a couple of other things. So definitely want to put a nod to Mary's birthday, since this was done in her birthday month, on here. And I know exactly what I'm going to use to do that. And then I have a couple other things in mind that I will add to this as I finish it up. And I will make sure that either I record it and put it out on my page or go live on my page as I do that. Some of it, I won't do all of it because we want some of it to be a little bit of a surprise. So I still have a few minutes. Let me see if this is dry. Not quite yet. So we're going to just lift this up quickly. And dry it. And then I can get going on those flowers. I like this black and white plaid background and the contrast it's going to give to everything. But make sure you, okay, try and talk while I'm drying to my hand. Make sure that you stay. I've got a couple more minutes, but make sure you stay and then just refresh to see Bev and the rest of our lineup today. We'll go until, I want to say we go until like 9 o'clock tonight, or even later than that, because there's 12 of us and we just started 45 minutes, an hour and a half ago. So that's good. I only really need to make sure the top of that is dry, because that's the only thing I'm messing with right now. Throw this back down on my ink mats. And then position my flowers. And this, I like this school because you have some wiggle room with how you lay it out. It doesn't have to go completely straight. I like the floral bunch that's in this particular transfer. So, okay. So I'm not going to do anything with that because it will take me more than a minute to chalk that, and I only have a minute left. So thank you all for watching. Really appreciate it. Again, make sure that you either stay and watch if you are able, or come back and watch everybody later on replay. If you're watching us on replay later, give us a hashtag replay just so we know that you were there. We all go back, so if you have questions, make sure you throw those in the comments, because we all go back into our lives and try to do follow-up and answer those questions and things like that. And so that's it. I am going to go, and I will talk to you all later. Bye.